Reese's Pieces are the best candy.
Hello, Audioholics. My name is Logan, and this is
The piece of Reese.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you just say Reese's Pieces are the best? You suck.
Candy corn is terrible, but Reese's Pieces are the best.
No. Okay. First of all, Reese's Pieces are shitty M&Ms. Second of all, M&Ms suck.
M&Ms do suck, but Reese's Pieces have like the peanut butter angle, so it's
Reese's
chocolate, it's
Pieces
peanut
would
butter,
be absolutely
bite-sized.
nowhere without E.T. That is like E.T. would have gone nowhere without
Reese's Pieces. No,
No, the other way around.
The other way
Scratch
around.
that, reverse it.
E.T. was the best advertisement for Reese's Pieces there ever was, or ever will be.
Yeah, because otherwise, like, people wouldn't get discount M&Ms.
They are not discount M&Ms.
They are Dollar Tree
best.
M&Ms. They are Dollar Tree M&Ms.
M&Ms are Dollar Tree M&Ms. Reese's Pieces are the top shelf shit, you know?
Okay, well, can we at least agree that they both suck?
No.
M&Ms just taste like chocolate that's like, just eat a fucking candy bar. Why are you eating M&Ms? Damn.
So you know what also tastes like chocolate?
What?
Bob Dylan's music.
Oh, well, that is a good segue because, as it turns out, we are listening to a Bob Dylan record. So basically, the reason for a sort of hiatus, like, I've been uploading, like, Audioholics Unites as a scheduled thing. But I haven't done any, we haven't done any wrong opinions in a while. We haven't done our respective getting into series, which, if you are interested, he's getting into prog, I'm getting into trip hop, and we will be getting back to that this weekend.
Next time, getting into Reese's Pieces from Logan.
No. I think I'd rather get into, like, those fucking, like, Raisinets.
No, but, like, seriously, so the reason I made that segue is because I was reading an AMA on Reddit of this guy who can taste music, apparently. You know how, like, you can taste words with, like, a disorder? Well, this guy can taste music. And he said that Bob Dylan tastes like chocolate.
What?
Yeah, seriously.
Hang on. How does that work? Like, what? Like, you eat the album and it tastes like chocolate? I feel like it would just taste like either glass or vinyl or something.
Apparently Lamb of God, or I'm sorry, not Lamb of God. Apparently Slipknot tastes like lamb soup.
How, what? Is this like the weird, is this like the fucking, like, oh, we thought Otherkin was like the weirdest fucking thing. No, now we're doing...
No, it's like actually a mental thing. There are people who can taste words.
Like, what the hell? Like this is like some sort of like weird psychedelic, like Pink Floyd is like, I can taste music, man.
I've taken too much LSD.
Yeah, exactly. You just like take LSD and then one day start eating your Beatles records.
Dream Theater tastes like fried ice.
Yes. Wait, fried ice? Please tell me that's not a thing.
I meant fried rice, but fried ice is also a thing.
No, I refuse to live in a world. How? Like, I know, like, fried butter and things like that are a thing. There's, like, a whole bunch of really weird fried shit out there, but, like...
See? Fried ice cream. Okay, you can't see, but it's
fried ice cream. Yeah. Yeah, I know about that. Like, there's, like, a whole bunch of weird fried stuff.
That's what they take into space to give the astronauts, like, fried ice
cream. No. That's freeze-dried ice cream.
Oh, is it? I thought it was fried ice cream.
Freeze-dried.
Oh. Well, I'm fucking stupid.
Speaking of freeze-drying, Bob Dylan. So anyway, what I was saying is, like, part of the reason we were doing that, we were both actually at camp. And the reason I bring that up is because at camp, I was finally able to get Tyler into Bob Dylan.
In the bathroom.
Well, you know.
Like, literally, I was in the bathroom when I got into Bob Dylan.
Really?
Literally, I was taking a number 2 and I was listening to Oh Mercy.
Oh. which, by the way, is like one of the most underrated albums of all time. Seriously, if that album had been released in like the 1960s, like 1967 or something like that, with the songwriting and atmosphere of it, it would have been a classic.
Yeah, so I've listened to that record, and what's the other one you made me listen to? The one that was like more mainstream?
Bringing It All Back Home. That's the one with like Maggie's Farm, Mr. Tambourine Man.
So I would I would compare Oh Mercy to like Ride the Lightning, and I would compare Bringing It All Back Home to like the Black Album. It's still
Yeah.
good, but like Ride the Lightning is so much better, you know? That's
Yeah.
kind of how I would say it. I didn't really love it as much as I loved Oh Mercy. So it's kind of going to be interesting because this is going to be the third Bob Dylan album I've ever listened to and the only modern Bob Dylan album I have ever heard. So,
Yeah. So I actually haven't listened to a whole lot of like modern Bob Dylan albums either. I listened to Tempest because actually it was an old college professor who got me into Tempest.
that's the most recent one before this one, right?
Third most recent. It was Tempest, then something else, and then this one, which is Rough and Rowdy Ways, which is an absolutely terrible name for an album, but I digress.
I'm going to listen to this album in Rough and Rowdy Ways.
See, exactly. Why would you name it like that? Come on, man.
I'm going to sleep in bed with my girlfriend in Rough and Rowdy Ways.
Why the fuck am I so red on the camera?
I don't know. It looks like there's like a red filter in your room.
I feel like I'm like, is this like Predator vision? Like,
it's not just you either. Like, it's your whole room.
yeah, exactly. I don't know. I think it might be this blue shirt that's like fucking up the white balance on my webcam.
Yeah, maybe. Fucking blue, the worst color.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I don't know.
Blue's
I
actually
just
my
look
favorite
like I'm
color.
on. I don't know. I feel like I'm in Predator, either in Predator vision or I'm in like one of the 20 Virtual Boy games.
The 20 Virtual Boy games. Angry Video Game Nerd did a really good video on that.
Yeah, yeah. Angry Video Game Nerd has like surprisingly gotten me into a decent amount of music. I'm making like a top 50 albums of all time, which will that video will be up at some point in my lifetime. But like I was like kind of surprised like how much music Angry Video Game Nerd has gotten me into.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I personally haven't gotten into any music through Angry Video Game Nerd, but
like he got me into
yeah.
Witchfinder General and The Pretty Things. So
I got into Witchfinder General through Logan here, and The Pretty Things I've never really liked.
have you ever listened to the SF Sorrow album? You should give it a shot.
I think I listened to part of it, and it's just
Yeah.
not my thing.
Fair enough. So speaking of things that may or may not be our thing, Rough and Rowdy Ways.
We just gonna get right into it now?
Yeah,
All
let's
right.
just get right into it. So two things.
Go on your
like
spiel.
Yeah, I'll go on my spiel. Two things. There's a couple other series of videos that we do. If you are interested in like tier lists, I recommend The Wrong Opinion. A couple weeks ago, we did one on Blue Oyster Cult. We also recently did one on Rush. We have a fucking ton. We just like put together a list because we were bored. We put together a list of like potential candidates
Bands that we're gonna do
yeah,
at some point.
So like bands and artists. So we basically have no shortage. We have over 50, I think, potential candidates. So basically we aren't running out anytime soon.
But I should say Metallica is in the works.
Metallica is in the works. Yeah, that will probably be the next one.
Yep.
Also, we have our own Getting Into series. He's trying to get into prog music. I'm trying to get into trip hop.
This Saturday, I should have the Camel video up. I will warn you guys, I didn't really like it, but it's going to be a fun ride. And what are you getting into? Are you doing one this week?
Yeah, I actually don't remember which one mine was. I'll have to like go back at the end of my last video because it's been a little while. Like I said, we've both been slacking.
Yeah, I mean, I've listened to both of those records multiple times now, but I just haven't like recorded the video yet, which I need
All
to
right.
do. Yeah.
So anyway, let's listen to this record.
Wait, you forgot one thing.
Oh yeah, I did. In the description, there will be a link on YouTube to the album. Please use AdBlock for the best listening experience.
Next time you should just like talk in like the Siri voice or something. Please use AdBlock for your next listening experience.
Oh my god, my girlfriend can do that voice like so eerily well. Like, no, not that voice, but like your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice messaging system voice.
I am so shit at impersonations. I can't impersonate
Exactly.
anything. I'm so bad at
I
it.
used to be able to when I was like a little kid and my voice was way higher pitched.
Yeah.
Welcome to Verizon Wireless.
That's a good voice that you can do next time.
Welcome to Verizon Hello everyone. My name is Logan and welcome to Audioholics Unite.
You should just talk in that voice for the entire episode if we're doing like Nickelback or something.
Hey, they're not giving a shit. Why should I?
Yes. All right, so we're going to get into this album now in 5, 4, 3, 2, go.
Go, motherfucker.
Immediately 0 out of 10. Bye, guys. That's the whole video. Peace. The whole podcast is over. Actually, it is kind of like really pleasant.
I've been waiting like 2 weeks to listen to this album.
You know what's interesting? Like, you would expect somebody like Bob Dylan to do nothing but improve over time, like get better at songwriting, better at guitar playing, maybe not better at singing, but
We are planning on doing a Bob Dylan wrong opinion at some point. That's just going to take a really long time, though. It's not any time in the near future, but we do have it planned.
So part of the fun of listening to a Bob Dylan record is trying to figure out what the fuck the song is about.
Yeah, exactly. It's so complex. Bob Dylan is an expert songwriter, but like, I don't know. Do you think this I was gonna say, do you think this album is too new for Genius? I don't think so, because like Lamb of God had like Genius like footnotes and shit on day one. So
Yes, this album has a lot of them. I'm on it right now.
yeah.
Apparently, like, every fucking line is an allusion to something. Within the first, like, 3 lines, he's already referenced Shakespeare, Macbeth. He's referenced Antoine O'Raftery's poem, Maiar ni Ed Hein, which I've never heard of before. Fuck Bob Dylan. Stupid fucking references.
I wish I had a drink. That way I could take a drink every time he makes a religious reference.
You'd be like
Indiana Jones. Fuck. I don't know, Indiana Jones. He's biblical somehow.
He just said, I'm just like Anne Frank and Indiana Jones. Yeah, because Anne Frank was searching for the crystal skull running away from bowlers.
No, we kid, but this is totally profound in some deep, mystical way that I could never possibly fathom. That's
yeah,
the thing,
it probably is.
Like, Bob Dylan, you're going to need to listen to his albums a couple times to really, like, comprehend.
I will say, like, I'm really enjoying this song so far. I can tell, like, the immediate problem with doing this album on a podcast. It's entirely lyrical and vocal driven. And we can't hear him because we're talking over it.
Why the fuck did I decide to do this?
Yeah, why did we choose to? This is a terrible idea. We're doing it anyway now, but
yeah, well, fuck it. I could like push the end button and just give up on this idea, but it's like right over there, and I just can't.
It's too far away.
I can say though that Bob Dylan has been an influential artist ever since probably high school. I mean,
He contains multi-nudes.
I did see Bob Dylan in concert, and it was the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'm not
It was
surprised by
so
that.
bad. Oh my god! And this one girl, she was like so anal about any phones out during the concert. Like she was like you couldn't have your phone out to take a picture. You couldn't have your phone out to text. You couldn't do anything. And somehow audio leaked. There, I can
My
go
God.
back and find the fucking. It's it happened in 2017, I think, and
I'm like
it was in like an Aurora theater or something like that in New York.
I'm reading the lyrics to this, and Bob Dylan is the most pretentious fuck of all time ever. So about the line, I sleep with life and death in the same bed, he said, I think about the death of the human race, the long, strange trip of the naked ape. Not to be light on it, but everybody's life is so transient.
Oh my
God,
god!
he's so pretentious. By
Can
the
you
way, we
just
are now
like?
on False Prophet by Bob Dylan.
Can you just like get like dementia or something so you can like say something and have it be total nonsense
What the fuck?
instead of
You,
just perceived nonsense to anybody below a Harvard scholarship?
yeah, you call Dream Theater and Tool pretentious. This is a whole nother fucking level.
Yeah.
Tool and Dream Theater wish they were this
Yeah.
pretentious.
But like beyond that, John Wesley Harding was an amazing album that I've always loved. Bringing It All Back Home, Oh Mercy. Um,
This is like really fucking bluesy all of a
yeah,
sudden. What the
yeah.
fuck is this?
Bob Dylan's stuff has been like consistently really diverse. Like a lot of people, like I think like a lot of casual fans would just think of him as like, oh, I'm some like old like heartland boy strumming away on a guitar, world peace shit like that. Like as the years went by, his career expanded and his musical tastes expanded, and he did just get better and better and better at writing. He won a Nobel Prize for literature. I mean, you can't really argue with that.
Yeah, but that wasn't for his songs.
Well, yeah, that was for. Well, I said Nobel Prize for literature. It was for a poem, I
Yeah.
think. I mean, he's a poet. He's an artist. Like, he paints.
Yeah, this dude is a fucking like artistic genius.
Yeah.
Dude, I actually really like the vocals in this song. Kind of like grovelly and dirty. It kind of really works.
Yeah. This has been the vocal style for like most of his recent albums in the last maybe 10, 20 years. He's not really nasally anymore. It's more grovelly. And I think it kind of lends to the same kind of like atmosphere as like his older stuff, but in a different way.
I think it kind of works better than the way that he used to do it. At least in this song, it does.
So far, I would say I haven't listened to Tempest in a little while, but the thing about Tempest is I think like it had a lot more energy. Maybe not necessarily from Bob Dylan, but the music had a lot more energy. And
Hey, did you know that Bob Dylan sings songs of
yeah,
love and of betrayal? What's that a fucking allusion to? Is this another like obscure fucking essay?
I write the songs that make the world feel good.
Dude, so I was watching this video. I actually think I have mentioned this person before on the channel. I watch Lindsay Ellis, who does like essays now. And she
Yes.
did a video on the death of the author, which is like an essay I've never heard before because I guess I'm not a literature scholar and that's why. But
Yeah.
basically the idea is, you know how like J.K. Rowling like changes the story of what's confined in the text, like, oh, Dumbledore's gay, oh, Hermione's
Yeah.
black, oh, like, even though those things
Yeah.
were never stated in the text, she changes them after. Well, Death of the Author argues you can only consider the text. You can't consider anything the author says, anything the author is, only the text when
Yeah.
talking about fiction. Well, it was an interesting video because, like, Lindsay was arguing that that idea is kind of nonsense because you can never really detach yourself from the knowledge of the
Well, I
author
mean,
that you
because
have when
like
you go into a book.
it's like what do all the modern Christians say nowadays? I mean, besides like a couple like fringe ones, they would say like the Bible is up for interpretation. It's not like it was written clear as day. And okay, fine, taking religion out of it, the Declaration, or not the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, purposely made to be kind of, sort of taken loosely. It's written in very vague terms so that you could argue what they intended. Like, okay, the Second Amendment, it on its face, it basically says like a well-regulated militia has the right to bear arms. Okay, but what is that well-regulated militia? Some would argue that it's the military. Some would argue that we are that well-regulated militia. And how well regulated should that militia be? Should it be less regulated or more regulated? What does well regulated actually mean? So, and so like you can't take the text literally if the literal text is so vague in and of itself.
I guess that's true, but the reason I bring up the death of the author as an essay is because, like, in music, how hard is it to judge music just based on itself? How hard is it to do that and not take into account who writes the music, who that person is, what they've done, what they didn't do, how they grew up? Like a good instance, like if you have somebody like Simple Plan complaining about poor life and how hard life is, but they have never had it hard in life, then how can you take that music seriously? How can you take it as anything other than inauthentic?
Yeah, like another thing about yeah, well, like another thing going back to like context. And by the way, we are on my own version of you. Um, a movie I recently watched with Tyler. Tyler's been getting me into it. Donnie Darko. There's literally like it came out in 2001, I think. 19 years later, people are still debating. There are like legitimate discussions about what the meaning of the movie is. Is it all in his head? Is it, you know, did it actually happen? Is it as a result of mental illness? Whatever. Does it have some sort of political leanings? You'd have to watch the movie to, I guess, fully understand. My thing is, I have my own thoughts. As far as I'm aware, the person who wrote that movie hasn't come out and said exactly what it means, and you know what? I don't want him to.
Yeah. And, I think that to some extent, the death of the author is impossible. You can't completely ignore the existence of the author or the writer
Yeah.
or whoever, what medium you're talking about, the movie maker, the actor. There's always a piece of them in there. I mean, as far as Donnie Darko is concerned, Jake Gyllenhaal, the man that played Donnie Darko in the movie,
Yeah.
was actually going through a lot of mental problems himself during that time, which is why his performance feels so authentic. I mean, no, he's not a schizophrenic, but he can play a schizophrenic more
He's not
convincingly
too far
because
of
of
a
his
stretch.
own mental problems. Exactly. And playing the role helped him through those problems through art. you could argue something like the Nothing by Korn does something similar, because that album is loosely based on the fact that Jonathan Davis, the singer, the writer, his wife died, and it's basically an album about grief. He himself has said he can't even listen to it because it makes him cry every time he hears any
I
song
actually
off
have
the
never
record.
listened to that album. I will. Actually, that sounds really interesting. I might give it a shot right after this podcast. Remind me. Send me a text message to remind me.
Sure. I'll have to make a reminder for myself because I'll forget it. But
Yeah.
like, that's kind of the thing about art that I find interesting, and it kind of does relate to
Yeah.
Bob Dylan a little bit, because he
Yeah.
is such a profound and prolific writer. You can feel a piece of his real character and personality in every song he writes. It's impossible to separate him from the stories he tells.
Yeah. And what if, like, the person doesn't even write their like we were just this just uploaded last week, In the Wee Small Hours by Frank Sinatra. Something I neglected to say, I think this is true. I don't believe Frank Sinatra wrote any of those songs, but it hits so close to him that he can sell it so well.
I'll look it up right now because I actually don't know.
I don't think he. I definitely know he didn't
No,
write
he didn't.
a lot of the songs.
It looks like a guy named Bob Hilliard wrote a lot of it,
Yeah.
and a guy named David
Yeah, but he
Mann.
can sell it so well because of the mental state he was in at the time.
Exactly. Like, these are songs that really, to some extent, okay, so here's something I've heard. Vocalists are actually actors.
Yeah.
Even though sometimes they write their own lyrics, they are, in effect,
Exactly. To
actors.
some
They are
degree, you're right.
portraying emotion.
And if you get into bands like Steely Dan, they're not even. It's almost like a full production. They interchange actors at will, depending on who's best to play the part in that particular song.
Yeah. Like, I
Especially like
myself,
yeah,
I'm in a band and I write most of the lyrics. I'm the guitar player. I don't sing, but some of those songs are very personal to me. So we don't have a singer right now, but when we do get one, we would need somebody who would be able to portray my feelings authentically, because they're not his feelings, they're mine.
yeah,
And that's true of a fair amount of bands. I mean, the Beatles, pretty much
yeah,
everybody wrote songs. Blue Oyster Cult rarely wrote their own songs, or at least
yeah,
lyrical wise, they barely wrote it.
yeah,
Musically, they did, but so that's kind of an interesting thing about music, is that to some
yeah,
extent it is also acting, and so you can have good actors and you can have
yeah,
bad actors. Something like a Simple Plan, maybe
yeah.
talking about things that have never happened to them in their songs, like, oh, my life is terrible, I'm so poor. They've never had a terrible life, they've never been poor, but the problem is that they portray
I
these
mean, you say that.
feelings
I don't really. I mean,
inauthentically.
you say that. I don't really know.
Well, I mean,
Never looked into their shit.
I mean, they've never really been like in the middle of the ghetto, living off paycheck to paycheck kind of person, you know? They might have gone through some bullying or something when they were kids, I don't know, but overall, their music comes across very inauthentically, and that's because they are bad actors.
Yeah.
Bob Dylan may have a terrible voice, but he is maybe the best actor I have ever heard in music.
Yeah, and could you really expect, I believe this is true. I think part of the reason he sounds so bad, it's basically been a 50-year-long troll job, is my
Just to
understanding.
interrupt you real quick, we are now on I've Made Up My Mind to Give Myself to You.
So my understanding about Bob Dylan is that it's basically been like a 60-year-long troll job. I'm not sure how true the story is, but like on his first album, he sounded like okay, but not very good. And they were saying like, oh, he sings all these songs really well. Keep in mind, these were already like well-established blues covers, folk covers, rock covers, things like that. But he had like done that, and he was like, yeah, this is all good, but he can't sing worth a damn. And then like Bob Dylan put out Freewheeling Bob Dylan, which was the second album, and he purposely started to sound anything like this. And all of a sudden, like, you know, he started becoming pretty popular. Blowing in the Wind was on that album. Hard Rain's Gonna Fall was on that album. Those songs charted and kind of started to, like, you know, kickstart like the counterculture of, like, you know, first beatniks then hippies. So I guess just like Dylan decided, like, for the most part, just keep going with that. He even went through a crooner phase in the late 60s. Lay Lady Lay, if you've never heard that song, check it out. It's a really sweet little pretty song.
Yeah, and I think like the fact that he sings in such a I, I mean, I don't want to say he's bad, but he is. It actually kind of helps the
Yeah,
authenticity of some of
exactly.
these songs.
That's what I was going to say. It adds with the authenticity.
Yeah, for example, there's a song on Oh Mercy which like nearly brought me to tears. That's how deeply emotionally it impacted me. It's called Man in the Long Black Coat. And it's a story that was told from a different perspective. So there's this old ballad called The Demon Lover, and the ballad tells the story of a woman who leaves her husband and baby to board a ship with a man who has enticed her with promises of treasure, and then the ship sinks and they both die. Well, in the song, Bob Dylan actually tells this story from the perspective of the husband that the wife left after she has died. And even though Bob Dylan has never obviously had this happen to him, I mean, if I didn't know it was a story, I'd probably believe it because of how authentically he tells the story and how authentically he sounds.
Yeah.
That's what I mean when I say he's maybe the best actor I have ever seen or heard in music. He can portray these emotions in a way that nobody I have ever listened to can.
Speaking of which, this might be like one of the most melancholy Bob Dylan albums I've ever heard so far.
I know, this is really, really good. We haven't really talked about it much, but like musically, this album is everything I want in a Bob Dylan album. False Prophet was nice, but like the rest of the songs are really good.
Yeah. I would say that if you want something kind of like this, but a more upbeat sound to it, listen to Tempest. I think it won a Grammy that year. It came out in 2012.
Frankly, what I like about Bob Dylan is when he's making music like this, super emotional, super, you know, filled with melancholy and sadness. I think that's where Bob Dylan shines, and he sounds corny and stupid when he tries to make things that are upbeat and happy, and that's just my opinion from the 3 albums I've heard by Bob Dylan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not going to say it's like all upbeat, but like more upbeat than this.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. It's kind of like, would you ever expect Michael Myers to be in a comedy? No, he shines best in horror movies. Likewise, Bob Dylan shines best in slow, sad, emotional songs like this one. Which, by the way, I don't even know what it's about.
Yeah.
But, like, again, the point is I have no idea what this song is about. I haven't read any of the lyrics, but I'm still feeling, like, this emotional connection of, like, sadness and, you know, that is just brilliant.
Like, Bob Dylan can only do, like, one style. I mean, like, you know, like, there was... Like, you can even have, like, serious songs with a kind of more upbeat sound to them, like Hurricane. Like, if you didn't listen to the lyrics at all, it sounds kind of angry, but it's also, like, something you could theoretically dance to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that, like, his other stuff is bad, but, like, a good example, what was that one song on the album that you had me listen to?
I made you listen to 2 albums.
The second one, not Oh Mercy.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the name of it. Mama's in the basement, messing up the medicine. I'm on the front porch.
Subterranean Homesick Blues.
Yeah.
That song is absolutely not good, in my opinion. Even though it is one of his more popular songs, apparently, I think he shouldn't be doing that style. It doesn't suit him.
I mean,
And
it
there's
was
another
kind
one
of
on Oh
it
Mercy
was
that kind of is like the same thing.
yeah. I
The
mean, it
first
was
track, I
supposed to
think.
be sort of. I think it was supposed to be more like like kind of a more political song. I think, or at least that's how it was treated as such.
Political World. The first
Yeah,
song on Oh Mercy is another example where I
I
think
like
Bob
that song.
Dylan's trying this more like rock, upbeat sound, and I don't think it's as good as
I
his
wouldn't
more
say it's
slow,
upbeat.
emotional
I
songs.
wouldn't say it's upbeat. It's more angry. I think both songs are pretty angry, is what
Yeah,
I
but
would say.
Angry is more upbeat by definition than sad.
Yeah,
Like I guess you wouldn't say Rage Against the Machine is happy and upbeat in that way, but it's certainly more
yeah,
upbeat than Bob Dylan just because it's angry
yeah.
for the most part.
Speaking of which, Rage Against the Machine did cover a Bob Dylan song, and it was awful.
Yeah. Okay, so we are now on Black Rider.
Yeah.
This might be my favorite song so far.
I mean,
The opening of this song
there's
is really good.
especially as of recently, there's been this sort of like, I guess you could say like almost warped brass section. Kind of reminds me like the spiritual successor of Tom Waits. Even though Tom Waits isn't dead, and I'm pretty sure he's still putting out albums.
He's dead in every way that matters, though, right?
Yeah. No, like it kind of. Well, no, I would say this. It's more like Tom Waits, but with more polish. Like Tom Waits kind of has like this warped kind of weird instrumental sound. And Dylan has kind of been latching on to that, I think, a bit. I don't know if he would say he's been influenced by Tom Waits, but I can hear a little bit of influence from that as a casual listener of Tom Waits, at least.
This might be the best song on the album,
Yeah.
like vocally too. This song actually reminds me a little bit of like Johnny Cash vocally.
Yeah. Johnny
You hear
Cash is
that?
another like really good actor, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the song Hurts. Great example.
Exactly.
Wasn't even written by him.
But he sells it so much better even than Nine Inch Nails, I would say.
Yeah. Okay, so I think I've decided I need to give Nine Inch Nails another shot.
Yeah, me too.
I need to listen to like something that is universally loved and try and get into them at least a little bit because frankly, the only song I've ever liked by them is called Head Like a Hole.
I would say that, and then the song directly after that on the album, it's Terrible Lies, I think it is.
Yeah. And the only reason I like Head Like a Hole is because of that chorus. Bow down before the one
Got so many hooks for a band that like clearly is like, oh, we're against selling out, that type of thing.
Yeah, the only reason that song works is the fucking hook.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, I love this song.
Me too. This is definitely different from some of the Bob Dylan I've heard before. It doesn't have that sort of like New Orleans sort of sound. I guess like, actually, I take it back. Not really Tom Waits. More just sort of like a New Orleans kind of Mardi Gras type of sound to it. Like a lot of brass.
The size of your cock will get you nowhere.
He finally did it. Oh my God, is that about Donald Trump?
Oh my God, and he still made it something. This line is paraphrasing a Roman satirist from around first century called Juvenal, who said, if your stars go against you, the fantastic size of your cock will get you precisely nowhere.
Does cock mean just rooster in this case?
So literally, fucking the line that says cock in it is still fucking paraphrasing some fucking obscure satirist.
I have to imagine it means like chicken or something, like the amount of, Because, like, they weren't calling
No.
gods
Because,
back
like,
in the Roman eras, right?
if you keep reading it, however much Vero may have drooled at the spectacle of your naked charms, he's definitely talking about a dick. And by the way, we are now on Goodbye, Jimmy Reed.
Okay, this is a bit more... I would
This is
still
more
say it's...
country.
Yeah. Well, more bluesy, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Very
like definitely
bluesy.
a more upbeat song on the album, but still, I wouldn't say it matches anything from the last few albums.
And again, I say, like, this is probably
Yeah.
one of the weaker songs here because of that.
I wouldn't say that. I think it's pretty nice. I'd say
I didn't say it was
overall, the
bad.
album, I don't really have any faults with it, but again, I need to listen to it again because Bob Dylan is just that kind of artist. Like,
I'd say it's like if Oh Mercy is a 10 out of 10 and Bringing It All Back Home is like a 7 or something, or an 8 maybe, this is somewhere in the middle based on what I've listened to. I mean, it's not as good as Oh Mercy in my opinion, but it's probably way better than Bringing It All Back Home so far.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I can't really say too much negative about Bringing It All Back Home. I think there's some songs that work better than others or are more memorable than others. I think It's All Right, Ma. I'll tell you, when I first heard that song, it was right after... I'm going to get political here for a second. So...
Oh, no.
Well,
oh, no.
Kind
Okay,
of.
Just go.
So,
Just say it.
this
Fucking
was,
pussy.
I think, right after Hillary Clinton dropped out in 2016. And,
What do you mean? Hillary Clinton didn't drop out in 2016?
I'm sorry. Bernie Sanders dropped out in 2016, and Hillary Clinton became, like, the official nominee.
Right.
Actually, I guess Bernie didn't technically drop. Whatever. Yeah, like Bernie had just dropped out, and like this whole, I was 18 at the time, 17 actually. I was 17 at the time, and this whole like, we're gonna start a revolution. People are dying on the streets. Free college, free healthcare, shit like that. I was like really naive at the time, but anyway, like. He had just dropped out, and like all of those thoughts of revolution had just like crumpled in my hands, and the last thing I turned to was Bob Dylan, who had kind of like kickstarted a revolution back in the 60s. Like now I wouldn't necessarily call myself a Bernie Sanders supporter. I think I've moved a little bit more right since then, but that headspace is still like fresh in my mind.
I mean, this is enjoyable, but it's inferior to everything we've heard so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's still got a good like riff, and it has good lyrics. I don't know. I can't really say anything negative about any of the songs so far.
I will say that again, I
This is
actually like
definitely
the
like one of
vocals
the
on
more,
this track, though.
huh?
I said that I will say again, I like the vocals on this track.
Yeah. Hey, there's a harmonica! What the hell? It took you this long, Bob Dylan? Damn! We haven't heard that.
Yeah, but
in a
it's only
while.
like the very end of the song, like the
Yeah,
last
like
10
the one thing
seconds.
Bob Dylan's like most known for is just like, okay, 2 harmonica notes. No, bye, fuck you.
Okay, bye. Oh, fuck yes. I already love this. 2 chords in.
Mother of Moses. Oh, fuck. Religious reference. Oh, yeah!
Oh, fuck. I love this.
Isn't nip like a racial slur or something? No, I'm thinking
No,
something
nymph
wrong.
is like...
Oh, nymph. I thought it said nip.
No.
I think that was
No,
like
a nymph
what?
is like a mythological
Oh, yeah. I know that.
nature
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, like a nature
Yeah.
fairy or something.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I should have known better. I mean, like Bob Dylan did technically say the N word a couple times in Hurricane, but it was all in context.
I think this entire song is like a Greek reference.
Yeah.
Just like reading the lyrics through, it looks like this entire song he's going to reference a lot of Greek mythology,
I feel
or
like
at
there's
least
like
like the Iliad and Homer's works.
I don't know if I'm like I don't know if I'm reading the right way into this, but I feel like there is like some sort of like maybe not specifically like anti-Trump subtext, but like anti that type of government. Like at the point that you're like referencing like Nero and things like that, I think like there is some sort of like anti-Trump subtext in this album.
Maybe. I mean, does Dylan like lean left traditionally?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, like,
Um,
I kind of got that on Political World, but, like, for the most part, the political tracks I've heard from Dylan are more just, like, anger at the political world rather than, like, a left-leaning or a right-leaning or anything
yeah,
like that.
Dylan was like considered like a far left figure. How how much of Dylan's work was actually specifically political is very debatable. Dylan would say that he's never written like a specifically like political song, but or like in terms of like a song specifically like expressing a political ideology, but you know, like it doesn't necessarily help that like Dylan's explanations for music tend to like contradict things, and it's all very muddled up, and I guess a lot of these songs you can kind of just come to your own conclusions. Yeah, this is a good song.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I had to do something real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a really nice. This is probably my favorite song on the album, hands down so far. Black Rider was really good, but this just hits the sweet spot for
This
me.
too. Yeah, these are all really good. I again, I can't say I'll need to listen to this again on my own. Like I said, at some point I do want to do
Can you believe we're almost done with the record already?
are we? No, we still have like a 16-minute song left.
Yeah, but like as far as tracks are concerned, we only have 3 left.
Yeah, we
And
have a
one of them we've already heard
we have a
before.
7-minute song, a 10-minute song, and an almost 17-minute song.
Yeah.
So like we still have quite a bit to go.
I know, but one of those songs you already heard before, and technically there's
Yeah,
only
one of
3
them was a
tracks.
single already. It's so weird because like the way Spotify has it, the one song is on another disc.
Yeah,
But
it's really weird.
yeah, according this is supposedly like part of the album. I don't know. It's really weird. Which would mean like so if you bought this on a CD, you just get one track with one 16-minute song and that's it.
I don't know, but Wikipedia will probably tell me.
That's really weird. Or I guess like maybe Discogs could like shed light on that. How would that work on vinyl?
That's what I'm going to look for. All right, so
Did they release this on vinyl? They must have.
probably it's fucking Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, like people with a record player would probably want to own a lot of Dylan. I own a lot of Dylan, and I fucking, believe it or not, am interested in vinyl. I know. Could you believe that?
Can you believe it?
Absurdity. This is another really bluesy song. We are on
So it's a
Crossing
double
the
LP.
Rubicon.
It's a double LP.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So there's not 3, there's just 2. It says, is it going to tell me what's on each side?
How much is the record, by the way? This might be like one I might consider getting.
Well, it depends where you're buying it.
Where are
According
you?
to well, I was on like a different site, but Rough Trade NYC was the name of the site.
I guess like maybe Amazon I can look.
It looks like you can only really get this as an import.
Oh, I mean, I don't know.
No, I'm wrong. They are selling it at Walmart and Barnes and Noble.
Where the hell is Walmart selling vinyl records?
They've sold vinyl records for. In fact, the Walmart where near us only sells vinyl records now. They took away all of their CDs.
No, wait, what?
Yeah,
Are they like a good price? Because I remember
they're
I've
not.
never bought a record at like FYE because they're always ridiculously overpriced.
Exactly, they're not. Like it's $25 for Led Zeppelin 4.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Most of them are like $20 to $30. In fact, all of them are. I don't think I've seen one that's cheaper than that.
I would say like, well, I mean, for new records, that's not too bad. That's usually about
Okay,
what
but
they
like
go
those are
for.
classic records you could find in a pawn shop for like
Yeah.
$10. It's not
Well, I
worth
mean,
it.
like the thing about that is like, I guess like they're banking on like, oh, well, technically it's better quality because it's been remastered 5 times since then.
Okay. So I'll tell you right now what's on each side. So the first disc
Yeah.
has I Contain Multitudes, False Prophet, my own version of you. The second disc is I've Made Up My Mind to Give Myself to You,
Second
Black Rider,
side.
and Goodbye Jimmy Reed.
Second
So
side.
now, what did I say?
Yeah. You said second disc earlier.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So the third side the third side, but the second disc,
Yeah.
the first side of the second disc. Mother of Muses, Crosses the Rubicon, Key West, Philosopher Pirate. We're on Crosses the Rubicon now, I believe.
Yeah, I did point that out earlier.
Oh, I didn't hear you. And then finally, on the other side, we have Murder Most Foul on its own side.
Okay, fair enough. That makes sense.
Yeah, so it's a double LP, which makes sense why I'm looking on eBay right now. It's $37 plus $10 shipping.
Wait,
But
so
it
where's
is like
Key
an
West?
olive green one.
So wait, ooh, that actually sounds nice. I might do that. Wait, how much is it?
Well, I just exited out, but it was like
Oh.
$37 plus $10 shipping, so like 50 bucks.
That's why. Okay, I'll look at it maybe at some point. I am gonna need to like get some more modern Dylan on vinyl. It's something that I think a lot of, well, I would say a lot of people overlook, but apparently not if it's winning Grammys and shit.
So, question: is it worth collecting singles? Because like I've seen a lot of bundles that are kind of pricey of like, oh, here's Ride the Lightning with the single, and it's a picture disc. And I'm like, oh, well, is that worth $10 extra for one song? I don't know.
Wait, the single of...
I don't remember what song it is. I think it was Fight Fire with Fire.
Oh, so it's like a 45 plus a picture disc?
Yeah, they were both picture. The 45 was a picture disc also.
Well, okay, then like,
it was like $50 for both of them.
I guess it's us up to, it's not something I particularly care as much about, but it's all subjective.
I guess. I don't know. I'm like completely new to collecting vinyl. For those of you, the one person watching who cares. And like this dude
got a
right here
player not too long ago
is a fucking expert in vinyl collecting. So I just go to him with all my questions.
No, I'm an expert as compared to you, but I wouldn't say that there are people who know way more about vinyl than I am. I never...
Listen, the fucking guy from the store we go to literally said he would call on this dude right here if like he ever had music category in Jeopardy or anything like that. Literally, he knows more than a dude who sells like hundreds of vinyl in a store that's
I'm sorry,
dedicated
I'm just too humble of a guy. I can't take that compliment.
Don't listen to him.
You know what? There was like an interview I saw with like Jimi Hendrix once. He was like, "Here we have one of the greatest guitar players of all time." Jimi Hendrix like, no.
He's like,
Greatest guitar player in this room. Fine, sure, why not?
This song kind of sucks. This is the first song I think that kind of sucks.
Yeah, it kind of drags, I think. I wouldn't say it sucks, but like Bob
It's
Dylan songs
boring.
are allowed Bob Dylan songs are allowed to drag, but
Okay, they're allowed to drag, but like this is kind of boring, and I don't even think the lyrics really make up for it. I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
I mean, what else is new? Like I can say like two things about Bob Dylan, like politically. He's definitely left wing. How left wing he is up for debate, and he is definitely religious. He's even had several like born again Christian gospel albums in the early 80s, which are very hit or miss. Some people love them, some people hate them. Like I was seeing like I was watching Listenography. Check him out. He doesn't have a lot of subscribers. Wouldn't really gain much more from this. But
well, thank God the song's over. We are now
yeah,
on Key West, Philosopher Pirates.
fuck off.
Even that was just like too much pretension for even you.
Yeah. Wait, really? Are you the fun? You're the one fucking talking, Tyler? Fucking philosophy major and shit? No, yeah, like,
Are you talking? So Listography is the guy you're talking about?
yeah. So, he has ranked Bob Dylan albums worst to best. And it was actually two people on a call at one time. And, like, one person really hated the Born Again Saved era of Bob Dylan, where he like put out a lot of religious shit, said it was like really preachy, and then another person said like, yeah, it was all right. So I don't know. I haven't listened to any of it myself, but apparently it's very divisive era in Bob Dylan's history.
So to interrupt and talk about something completely unrelated to music for a second, I just got a Google notification. Apparently Amazon developed a AAA game called Crucible and released it, but it flopped so hard that they like immediately unreleased it and put it back into beta. That is the biggest fail I have heard in like months.
Amazon, it's weird. Like Amazon hasn't released like too much stuff if you really think about it. But it's been so mixed. It's like, okay, you have the Echo, which has been like a huge success. You had the Kindle, which was like probably the biggest competitor to the iPad when it first came out. And then they have the Amazon Fire Phone. Anybody remember that? I actually know somebody who owned one, and they were like, yeah, this is a piece of shit. Because it's basically a phone that runs Android. It's basically like the Kindles, tablets. It was basically that, but a phone. So that means it technically runs Android, but doesn't have the Google Play Store. And instead you have like Amazon's really shitty store.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, and it was just like at least the Kindles were cheap. This I think wasn't at launch. It was like the same price as like an iPhone. So you could buy an iPhone or a Galaxy, both of which with like millions, literally millions of apps. Or you could buy this, which has like maybe 100,000 and probably not even most of the apps that you need.
So by the way, I kind of think the song sucks too.
Yeah, me too.
From what I can understand, this song is just about Florida.
Yeah.
It says like the Key West is basically Florida.
Well, I mean, you would love. Why don't you love that, you Floridian?
Because it's vapid.
This boy right here has Floridian blood. He was born in Florida. How do you excuse that? How do you excuse this travesty?
Because I was only in Florida for like 4.5 years, and then I moved to PA. So for all intents and purposes, I am a Pennsylvanian.
Okay, no, you are not. You're illegal, okay? You were smuggled across the Florida border into, what is it, fucking Georgia or whatever the hell borders Florida.
Whatever the hell borders Florida. And you think my geography knowledge is terrible.
It still is. You still thought that Canada was south of the United States, Tyler.
No, isn't it east?
You're fucking with me, aren't you? Please,
I thought it was
no.
like to the right of the United
thought it
States,
was-
right?
Yeah, so this is a pretty boring song, I think.
I'm looking it up right fucking now.
Oh my god. Please tell me. Please tell me you're fucking trolling me. Please. Have you never looked at a map once in your life, Tyler? Please, it might benefit you.
Oh, so it's north.
Yes, Tyler. It is north.
I never fucking took geography, man. Like, I don't care
Okay, but look
about
at a
where
fucking
things
map
are.
once in your life, Tyler.
What's the point?
To not know that it's fucking east of the United States. That's the fucking point.
That knowledge is as useless to me as knowing how many stomachs a cow has, which I do know, by the way, is 3.
Okay, well, you know useless shit like that, then look at a fucking map once in your life.
There's no point. I'm not a world leader, strategist in the military. I'm not traveling anytime soon. Like, it's useless knowledge to me.
Like, I don't know. Like, it's something that's, like, basic knowledge.
Okay, well, you know what else is basic knowledge? The fucking Pythagorean theorem. I bet you couldn't tell me what that is.
That's not basic knowledge. That's something that you need to, like... And
the
also,
Pythagorean theorem is so basic, construction workers have to know it.
Wait, no, yeah. Pythagorean theorem is like a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I learned that shit in high school.
I'm actually shocked you remember that, but okay.
I learned that shit in high school, Tyler.
You learned it in elementary school because you needed to, like, figure out right triangles.
Or, yeah, probably. I don't know. All that shit's a blur. But, like, who the fuck cares? Why the hell would you want to go into construction? There's, like, so many, like,
I don't know. My point is, like, millions of jobs require the use of the Pythagorean theorem. My dad works in a warehouse, and they have to know it. They use it all the time.
To what? Drive a forklift and stack shit on top of each other?
Well, no, to figure out, like, okay, if the thing is this high, then where should I put this thing so that this thing supports this thing, basically. Oh my god, this song is terrible.
Yeah.
End already.
Literally, you could have, like, took this off and then put... I gotta wonder if they just, like, stuck this on to, like, fill space on the vinyl.
Maybe. Maybe because, like, if they didn't, then they would have 3 sides. So they put some filler tracks in so they can make it 4 sides.
Yeah.
I know that, like, that's literally the reason why filler tracks exist, because, like, then you would, like, not use half of the side of a record. That'd be pointless, you know?
Exactly. I think this is literally filler.
Your entire existence is filler.
Hey, excuse me. I fill at least half of the fucking screen. You know,
I fill like the entire screen, bitch.
Well, I mean, like, you know, not counting like the border around us, I fill about half.
Ugh. Okay, this song needs to end. End the song. Yeah. End the fucking song. We still have a whole fucking minute left.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like overall, this record, we're on the second to last track. I know the last track 16 minutes, but like overall, this record I think is really, really good, but it drags a bit. It drags.
Yeah,
a bit.
I would say it's probably about like a 7.5 or an 8.
I'm leaning more like 8.5, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
I don't think it's quite amazing enough to deserve a 9, but like it's better
Yeah,
than a 7, I think. So
yeah, it's better. It's definitely one of the better albums he's released.
holy
Which,
shit, I'm looking at the lyrics to Murder Most Foul, and it's a fucking book. It's a book.
yeah,
It would take me like 20 minutes to read these lyrics, and the song is 16 minutes long.
damn, that's some hardcore dyslexia.
Jesus Christ. So now we are on Murder Most Foul, which is about a murder. Most foul.
Isn't this about like the JFK
JFK, yeah,
assassination?
it's about the JFK assassination.
Okay, fuck you. Saxon did this in like 3 minutes. You have no excuse, Bob Dylan.
You know, here's my stance on the JFK assassination. JFK was not that good of a president to begin with. He didn't really do anything of note except
Well, yeah, because like he was only around for like 2 years. What do you expect?
and like beyond
20
that, like
years.
there are a ton of like really scummy things about him. If you do research, like there is some evidence to point towards the fact that he might have gotten elected due to the mafia, due to
Yeah,
mafia
I don't think there's
ties, and
any
like,
actual evidence. There's a bunch of fucking conspiracy shit about
well, it's not a
JFK.
conspiracy
Taking
theory.
stock
Like
in
there
it.
were literal ties to the mafia that the Kennedy family had.
I don't. Yeah, maybe, but like it's like the same shit with like, oh, Russia got Trump election. We don't have any proof of
Okay, but
that.
there
That's
is
why
like
that just like
actual
kind of fell.
evidence towards
That's why
this.
that kind of fell through because we don't have like actual proof of that shit.
Yeah, so there's like some really scummy shit about JFK, and I don't think he
There's a
did
lot
all that
of
well in 2 years. And I think that the only reason we're talking about him today is because he is the only president that was assassinated on television. And if he wasn't assassinated on television, nobody would have given a shit.
I don't know. I Kennedy is a very like that assassination and like a lot of things surrounding Kennedy. It's all kind of surrounded in speculation, and I
I
don't
mean,
really like to
yeah,
put a lot
but
of like stock in all of that.
what I'm saying is the reason it had such an impact to America is because it was televised.
I mean, yeah, I guess you're
Everyone saw
right,
it,
but
you
like, I
know?
mean, like, he was like anti-Vietnam, and he did like subvert the Cuban Missile Crisis. So for like 2 years, he did like he
Okay, but
did
like the
like
Cuban Missile Price crisis was practically because of something he caused.
I think
War
it
of
was something
Pigs was terrible.
that was more so just the CIA. And
Kennedy was like a complete failure of a president. He did like the bare minimum. He prevented us from getting nuked out of existence. That's all he fucking did.
well, on the other
And
side, he
listen,
did
like you
prevent us from getting nuked out of existence. That seems kind of big.
that's the bare minimum.
I mean, I don't know. Like,
Even
there's
Trump has done that.
well, yeah, that's because he kind of started it. Like the CIA kind of works independent from the president, unfortunately. Well, I mean, I guess
Sometimes,
it
yeah.
kind of work. I guess it kind of works in favor sometimes because, like, we had like Robert Mueller investigate like Donald Trump, and I think that was done effectively as a result of the
Yeah.
FBI and the CIA working.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not an expert on like modern American history. I know more about feudal Japan or like Black
Yeah,
Plague era Europe than anything
yeah.
that
I don't
happened in the
know.
last
I don't
50
know
years in
about
America. But
Kennedy, but
but I do know a fair
regardless,
amount about Kennedy because there's a lot of history surrounding him in like the area of the mob that I'm interested in.
yeah.
So I do know a bit about him basically because of that and because we spent a shit ton of
Yeah.
time talking about him in high school in history class.
This is anyway, this is a
It's
pretty
all
good
right.
song. This is a pretty good song, kind of reminiscent of a lot of like the story-driven songs he's done all throughout his life. And he's never really that's always been his strength, and it works here as well. like, is the song necessarily the strong point? Like, there's no hook, there's no really anything here. It's just
I
it's
mean, like,
a good like kind of story, and he doesn't really
I
mess
wouldn't
that
even
up.
say this is necessarily a story because, like, in the first verse, he talks about how, like, JFK was killed.
Yeah.
The rest of the song, he kind of just meanders on talking about
Yeah.
shit like the Trinity River, and I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
don't know what the fuck he's on about.
But it's very profound, I'm sure.
The Zapruder film is a silent home movie which documented the assassination of
Oh
President
yeah, yeah,
John
yeah,
F.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Kennedy.
yeah.
He's talking about that. He's talking about
Yeah,
I
there
don't
was
know
like
what
a
the fuck.
huge like fucking like ordeal to get the rights to that film, lasting like 40 years. It's actually a pretty interesting read if you want to get into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think my biggest problem with this is that the instrumentals are not particularly interesting and they need to be for a 16-minute
Yeah.
song.
Yeah, and this was the single, so
Well,
I don't
he
know if
had
I would
4
have.
singles.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it makes sense that this was one of the singles. I mean, it is like the more story-driven song, or the more kind of like, again, like Bob Dylan's songs tend to drag. That's just kind of that comes
Yeah,
with
but
the
like
territory.
my criteria for is this a good long song is does it grip me? Does it hold my attention for 16 minutes? And I
Yeah.
can't say this does. I'm
I
already
it
bored of
didn't
it.
for, it didn't for me either when I first heard it. I understand why it was released as a single, but I mean, especially considering like the very like hard, political times we live in now, it kind of like, oh hey, shit sucked back in the 60s too. But like,
They
yeah, this is
mutilated
like
his body and they took out his brain.
zombie Kennedy. Okay, if there isn't like
Brains.
okay, I think like the statute of limitations of like we can make fun of Kennedy now, I think it's past. So this is what we need to do. We need to create like a Kennedy exploitation film where they take out his brain, and like the Russians reverse engineer it to create like Kennedy bot, and that destroys the universe.
The writing in this song is kind of weird. They killed him once and they killed him twice. Killed him like a human sacrifice. Whoa, dude, that is really bad
This is like,
rhyming.
yeah, it is.
What's
Come on,
new, pussycat? What did I say? I said the soul of a nation has been torn away. I wrote better poetry than that when I was 10.
look, the Rolling Stones did this way better. I cried out, "Who killed the Kennedys?" when after all, it was you and me. That's all you need, Bob Dylan. Listen to Dallas 3 p.m. He basically does this exact same song in 3 minutes.
You know, as far as as far as the Kennedy assassination is concerned, where do you stand with that? Do you think Lee Harvey Oswald did it?
Uh, yes. I think that I had my doubts, but like um fairly recently when they like released a lot of the Kennedy files, it like became like more and more the now there are like some things like stating like maybe like Lee Harvey Oswald could have been like an operative of the Cubans. There's no like anything I've seen of like a second assassin or anything like that. I would say like if there is more to it, I would say like Lee Harvey Oswald could have been like an operative of like the Cuban government or the Russian government, one of those two. But
I've also heard like a lot about potentially Lee Harvey Oswald having ties to the mafia too, which I haven't seen any actual evidence for, but
I haven't seen any evidence to that either.
there's no
Um,
evidence that he's connected to the Cubans either. So
I think I
for all we know,
I think that might have
he
been
was
like
an armed.
speculate. I think that might have been just like speculation coming out of the CIA at the time. Like they were
Like
speculating, could Lee Harvey Oswald have been But
Here's the thing about Lee Harvey Oswald is like, yeah, he could have been an armed member of the Cubans. He could have been a member of the mafia. He could have been a member of the gray alien human contacted slavery force. Who the fuck knows? There's no evidence towards any of this, and that's kind of the big problem with these conspiracy theories, you know?
yeah, like and at this point, it's 2020. I mean,
Like, it
Fidel
happened
Castro.
so long ago.
Yeah, exactly. Like Fidel Castro is dead. Joseph Stalin is dead. All the major players in that assassination or potential players in that assassination are dead. Lee Harvey Oswald was killed like weeks after. Whether he did it or not, he was still killed.
Yeah, and like at this point, even if the CIA just wanted somebody to blame and they picked Lee Harvey Oswald out of random, like, we will never know this.
We will never know. And it's hardly irrelevant.
They would never admit it. They would never admit it.
Like who was the head of the CIA at that time? J. Edgar Hoover. Where's he now? Dead.
Exactly. Like we will never know.
We'll never know, and it's hardly relevant at this point. So I'd say just let it go. Let's just, like, you know,
one of those mysteries.
The government's lying to us in 2020. Focus more on that. Like,
yeah. The government will lie to us for the rest of its existence. That's just the way it works.
That's just the way it works. Sometimes it needs to, even.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've long since said, even if aliens exist, don't fucking tell the public that.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're still, like, trying to figure out how to come to terms with accepting black people, let alone people from another planet. Like,
seriously?
We're still trying to figure out racism on our planet.
Racism and sexism.
We're still trying to figure out how, we're still like putting
nationalism.
We're still putting illegal aliens from our planet in cages. What the fuck are we gonna do with space aliens?
I mean, to be fair, the government are the last fucking people, the last group that I would want to know about alien existence.
Exactly.
Because they would be the first fucking people to put the aliens in the fucking cages.
Exactly. I mean, like...
But if they did know, they shouldn't tell people, because...
You know what?
Oh my God, can you imagine, like, Alien Lives Matter or some shit like that?
Alien Lives Matter.
Can you imagine?
You know what we need? We need a second raid on Area 51.
Yes. I still love how the first one went. Like, people went cosplaying as, like, Naruto.
Did anything come of that? Did anybody actually raid Area 51?
They pretended to, but...
Like, nothing came of that? There were
a few people who were arrested, but...
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they obviously failed. You know what I would have done if I were, like, the leader of Area 51? I would have just been like, yeah, come in. Come on, I'll show you around.
I'll show you all the aliens. Here's an alien that looks exactly like a booby trap. Come on, touch his hand. Come on, shake his hand.
Here's an alien that looks like a mine. Step on it. It I promise you, it'll fill you with fortune. It'll immediately send $2,000 to your bank account.
Here's an alien that looks exactly like a Nigerian prince.
Send him all of your money. Oh my God. I love how this song is so boring. We're making Nigerian Prince jokes over it. Do you think that Prince was a Nigerian prince?
You know, I actually had a friend from Nigeria said, like, my understanding is that there is actually a Nigerian prince, even though, like, so, like, their main form of government, my understanding is that they're sort of like Britain in a way, where, like, they have a prime minister, and that's, like, the major form of government, but I guess there is a legitimate Nigerian prince, and I think he is legitimately embroiled in this, like, chain email scam, is my understanding.
That's kind of funny.
I don't think it's like some dude in Estonia or something. I think it is actually like some guy in Nigeria trying to scam people. Or was. I don't know if that chain thing is still going around.
I don't know. I don't
I,
think
I
so. I
haven't
haven't heard about it.
I haven't heard about it in a very long time, but we're still talking about it. It was that impactful. It was that impactful in pop culture that we're still talking about it.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like the whole like, oh, improve the speed of your computer, delete system 32. Like, when in reality that just like deletes crucial aspects of Windows and makes your computer not run properly. Yeah, this song sucks. Like, loads. So yeah, I
It's
would say
almost
like,
over. It's only got a minute and a half left.
yeah. So bottom line, I'm going back to 8 out of 10.
I think I am too. I think we can agree on
Yeah.
8 out of 10. There are some tracks that aren't as good. There are some tracks that really drag, but overall, it's a really
There's a
quality
lot of
album, and
really
I
good
would
tracks, and that saves the
recommend
album
it.
from being bad.
Yeah, I recommend this. I mean, even this song, like, it's not bad.
It kind of is, but okay.
I don't know if I would say it's bad. It's just kind of boring. It goes on
Yeah.
for too long.
Yeah.
I'm sure, like, if
I
you
would
read the
say,
lyrics, this song would be much more impactful,
yeah.
especially if you understood what he was talking about and,
Yeah.
like, all of the paraphrasing he was using and all of the references. And I'm
Yeah.
sure this song is brilliant, but, like, to two fucking idiots who don't understand any of that, it's just boring.
Yeah.
I bet in, like, 20 years, this is going to be considered, like, his best song.
Yeah.
Our channel's going to
Maybe.
age like shit.
What the fuck is holding this dude together? Seriously.
Bob Dylan?
Yeah.
I
Like,
don't know, but I think
he's looked haggard since like the 90s, the 80s. Like,
I don't know, but I think he benefits from being old. Like, his voice now fits his music.
I agree. It's just like, like he was singing like Blowing in the Wind. I don't know if you've ever heard that song, but he'd be like, how many times? How many roots make your man walk down? Before you can call him a man.
You sound like fucking Cartman.
Exactly. Like, that's kind of like what he sounds like live.
Oh God,
It's like, yeah,
dude, I would just get bored.
That style works for music like this, but like, don't try and play the hits.
I think the other problem with this song, Murder Most Foul, is that it just plays the exact same piano riff over and over and over and over and over and over and over for 16 minutes.
Yeah, so that was the album. Again, I would say 8 out of 10. There are some songs that really shouldn't be there.
Murder Most Foul should have just been on an EP. He should have cut that from the record entirely.
Yeah.
If we're talking about like what would have made the record better, get rid of Murder Most Foul, put it on an EP, and you know what? Take out the last two songs too, and then suddenly you have like at least a 9 out of 10 album, if not a 10 out of 10 album. That would have made it so much better.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. It's a great album. It just kind of drags towards the end.
You know, like listening to music as much as I have during my lifetime, I think I've come to a conclusion. Shorter albums are better most of the time.
That's what I've kind of come to as well. Like, I found few double albums that really are consistently good. Like, oh, the Beatles' White Album. Yeah, it has some songs.
Spotty.
It's more spotty than you might think. Revolution 9 is like 10 minutes of just noise.
I think that the best double LP I've ever heard is Chicago Transit Authority, which I think I've literally said on this podcast before, but I still maintain it. It's perfect the entire way through.
It's one of the better ones. I would say like
Never Drags.
Fire, The Suburbs.
That's a good one.
Alexa.
And obviously, like Dream Theater albums, most of the time don't really drag, in my opinion. You know, like Scenes of a Memory, that album is amazing. I think that's a double LP. I could be wrong, but I think it is because it's like an hour and 20 minutes, so it would make sense. But
I don't know.
If we're talking about regular music that isn't wanky prog, then like for the most part, double albums don't work. Because like even if you have the best shtick of all time. Like, even if you're Breaking Benjamin and you do the same song over and over again, but, like, it's a really fucking good song and that's why you're big, right? if you try to make an hour and a half album with that alone, it's gonna fail. It's gonna fail.
Exactly. I can't think of like a whole lot. And even those albums that I've listed, I think
Can you
the things.
imagine if the Sex Pistols album was like an hour and 20 minutes long?
Oh
It would be
God,
terrible.
it would be. Yeah.
That even like I said, even if you have a good shtick, you keep it short and sweet, or that shtick runs
Gets
the
old.
risk of becoming very old very fast.
Yeah, like even like the White Album, at least they had like the hindsight of like, okay, we're gonna do this, but at least let's add a whole bunch of variety.
Yeah,
It's,
and
I
some
think
of
they were
it
like,
works, some of it doesn't, but like for the most part, the
and
White
like I
Album was a
think
good
in that
attempt.
case, I think like in that case, even they probably weren't expecting like the full album to be like nonstop classic. It was probably more so like, okay, well, here's a double album of like a whole bunch of different kinds of songs. You're bound to like at least one of them. And
Yeah,
I
pretty
mean,
much.
I'd say like a, probably the majority of songs on that album are good, but then you have shit like Revolution 9. These
Revolution 9
noise,
is the best
Tyler.
song. It's the
Oh,
best
whoa.
song. It's
Ow.
psychedelia, experimental, avant-garde stuff. I like
What do
that.
you, okay, do you know, you literally sound like that reviewer from Pitchfork who was like, if you don't understand the Shags.
I didn't
And
say that. I mean, like, you are well within your rights to not like Sun O because they're super experimental and avant-garde, but like that doesn't make them bad. Revolution 9 is super avant-garde and experimental, and I think it works because it sounds super eerie. Like that is the type of shit I would not want to walk home listening to on my headphones because I would feel like I'm going to be murdered by a horrible monster or serial killer or something.
you know,
That's
like
why
they
the
all
song
had
works
like
for me.
experimental albums. John Lennon had one where he was literally naked on the front cover with Yoko Ono. It was all a bunch of experimental avant-garde shit. Put it on there.
Fine. I'm not saying it always works. I'm just saying, like, for me, that song particularly hits a certain vibe, a certain, like, really creepy, eerie vibe, which makes me want to come back to it. That said, Helter Skelter is like 30,000 times the song that Revolution 9 is.
You were just saying it's the best song on the album, Tyler.
I was being hyperbolic.
Oh, yeah, okay, whatever, you snooty snood. Anyway,
Oh, isn't While My Guitar Gently Weeps on the White Album too? That's really the best song.
yes, it is.
That's really the best song. That's my favorite Beatles song, probably.
Yeah, that's a fair pick.
I absolutely love the chord progression in that song. Like it was just
Yeah.
pure genius.
So, fair warning, I did put Abbey Road on my top 50 albums of all time.
And fair warning, I didn't put any Beatles on mine.
Yeah, you probably would. You were too busy filling it with fucking Disturbed and Puddle of Mud.
I actually did have the White Album on there, and I was going to put Revolver on it because I think I liked Revolver more than the White Album. Here's the problem with putting any Beatles album on it. I think every Beatles album has songs that don't work, and every album I put on there doesn't have one song that doesn't work. So I
I
can't put it
think
up with it.
I would say like Abbey Road is the most consistently good Beatles
Okay,
album,
but it
and
still
so
has
is.
Octopus Garden, and it has I
So
Want You,
what?
She's
It's a
So
good
Heavy,
song.
and
So what? It's a good song.
I don't think they are. I
Yeah,
mean,
they are.
they're all right, but they're subpar compared to the rest of the album. And every single album I have on that list is
It
consistently
was
better.
technically brilliant. It had a simple but effective theme to it. I mean, like, yeah, fine, the song's juvenile, but you know what? Like, sometimes the Beatles did that, and it's fine because it sold. And like,
Yeah, and on Revolver you have Hello Yellow Submarine, which is just dog shit. You know, I mean, like, you know what? Your nostalgia goggles blind you. I come into it with a completely unique and unbiased perspective. I never listened to the Beatles growing up. Literally never. The only time I ever heard the Beatles was on the radio. Obviously, I've heard songs like Come Together and things like that I didn't even really know were the Beatles until I heard Abbey Road. But what it comes down to is that, like, without nostalgia goggles, if you look at the Beatles music objectively, some of it is technically brilliant, but some of it isn't. Some of it is actually bad, especially on the White Album. There's a lot of songs that I would call bad. Abbey Road has some bad songs, objectively, in my opinion.
I would disagree with that, but I mean, that you do come from a very unique perspective. I think most music critics,
Grew up
even
with the
the
Beatles.
yeah, like even the younger ones have grown up with the Beatles at least to some degree and can sort of
Like, listen, I'm not
appreciate
saying the
them.
Beatles aren't amazing. Okay, like they have made some of the most inspirational music of all time. Some of the
Yeah,
most like absolutely important music. If Abbey Road had never come out, if Sgt. Pepper had never come out, music would not be the way it is today.
very true.
There are like Sgt. Pepper is objectively one of the first concept albums. Like you could say, I think In the Wee Small Hours is the first one, but that's not the one that really popularized it. Sgt. Pepper
Agreed.
was, and just all across the board, the Beatles are arguably the most influential group of all time, but
Yeah.
they are not perfect, and they made some songs that I don't think are good. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, I don't think they have an album that is 100% perfect. Maybe for some people, the fact that they're so influential is enough to overlook that, but not for me.
I think like Abbey Road is a perfect album, but I can definitely understand where you are coming from. You definitely come from a very unique perspective
I mean,
of
even
somebody who
like,
never really grew up with the band, but I still think maybe to some degree it could be nostalgia talking, but I still think like there's not a single song on Abbey Road that I wouldn't listen to.
we were reading Pitchfork, and I think Pitchfork gave it a 10 out of 10. And even the fucking author who gave it a 10 out of 10 and was saying it's a perfect album, even he said he skips I Want You, She's So Heavy. He skips it every time he listens to the record. How is it a perfect fucking record then if you skip one of the songs because you think it's bad?
Well, it's
How is it
because he's
perfect
from
then?
Pitchfork and I'm not.
Okay, but like there are a lot of people who do that when they listen to Abbey Road or like a different Beatles album. Oh, I skipped this song. It's a perfect album. How is
I,
it
I
perfect
I would
then?
not skip a single song on Abbey Road personally, but that's my opinion, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we should probably end it soon though, because we're like going on about the Beatles on a fucking Bob Dylan video.
Yeah, I think it was a. I've heard like tales before of like Bob Dylan was actually the one who got the Beatles hooked on LSD, and
Really?
I think if it wasn't for Bob Dylan, we wouldn't have that whole experimental period of the Beatles. So
I think, like, honestly, though, as long as we're going to talk about the Beatles, I'll just state this right now. I think Revolver has grown on me drastically since I listened to it in last week. I think it was.
yeah,
I've listened to it 2 more times, and I think it is not instantly, but it has become my favorite Beatles album
like I've said,
over
Eleanor
time.
Rigby is one of my favorite
Yeah, Eleanor
Beatles
Rigby
songs of
is
all time.
fantastic. I think the only song on that album that I don't think is amazing is Yellow Submarine. I'm sorry, that
Yeah,
chorus is so stupid. I'm sorry, I can't like it.
I don't know. I mean, like it. To be fair, you might not necessarily be like the target demographic. Like Beatles wrote kids songs occasionally, and somehow they charted because fuck you, it's the Beatles.
Yeah, pretty much. The Beatles
I mean,
were.
it's sort of like the Baba Black Sheep generation. I think more enjoys music like that.
We all live in a yellow submarine, yellow submarine, yellow submarine. We
Yeah.
all like that's. Come on.
Again, it's I
Even a
think
Beatles
intended.
fanboy cannot say that is objectively 10 out of 10 highbrow art.
Wait, hold on a sec. I mean, like, yeah, okay, fine, I'll agree with you, but like, just because they repeat the chorus, like, how many
Well,
fucking
no, I'm
pop
just
songs
saying
do that?
that's just a stupid. It's just a stupid song. It's a stupid song with stupid instrumentals and stupid lyrics and stupid melodies. It's stupid.
I mean, oh, la 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 la. I mean, they literally like just la 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 for like half the song. Must be terrible.
What song's that?
Don't Fear the Reaper.
I mean, they only do that after the chorus. A it's not even like a fifth of the song's runtime.
I don't know, but like my point is like songs that repeat the chorus at nauseum. That's just a
I
pop
mean, like that
standard.
can work. It's just that the chorus isn't strong. It's terrible. I mean,
Again,
like
you're coming at
literally,
it from
it
a different.
sounds like
How,
you know what it
like
sounds like to me? It sounds like the theme song of a kids show. Like it looks
Well,
like
again,
it sounds like
that's kind of the idea. Is it was a kid's song.
well, maybe, but like we were talking about this before. In order for kids' art to be good, it has to be able to be enjoyed by adults. You look at the SpongeBob theme. I mean, I think the SpongeBob theme is well written enough that you could listen to it on its own. The same thing can be said of something like the Full House theme, which is way better than the SpongeBob theme,
Yeah.
actually.
Well, I mean, I
But
guess it's
like this
enjoyable to
song
me
sounds
because
like
I grew up
fucking.
with it as a child, but I guess I can't. I mean, I
It's
also
like
grew up with the SpongeBob theme, and so
yeah.
did you. So I guess I can't really speak from much more authority on that than you. But yeah,
Like, you know what it reminds me of? The Little Einsteins theme. Have you ever heard that?
did that have a theme? I had like the
Yeah.
VHSs, but I don't
It's
remember the
got
theme.
like a theme song, yeah. We're
I don't
going
remember.
on a trip in our
Oh,
favorite
Little
rocket ship
Einstein.
going through the
Oh, Little
sky. Yeah.
Einsteins. Did you say
Yeah.
Little Einstein or Baby Einstein?
If I said baby, I meant little.
Oh
But
yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
literally reminds me of that song more than anything else I've ever heard. Like
Yeah.
it to the point where like, would you listen to that on your own? Would you? Why do you listen to Yellow Submarine then? That
Fair point, I guess. All right, we should probably end the video. Again, if you're interested in tier lists, check out The Wrong Opinion. We've already done several, and we have an expansive list where
yeah.
we will be getting into many more, sometimes 3 albums, sometimes up to 30 albums. Up to 40 albums, I think, now.
Yeah.
I think Bob Dylan might be the highest one we have on our list. It's up
We
to
were
like
gonna do
35, 40.
Zappa, and then we realized Zappa has 62 studio
62,
albums,
that's
and then
right.
like
And I'm
another
not even
40 that
entirely
was
sure
released
how
after
all
his
of that
life.
works.
Yeah, fuck that.
If you're interested in us getting into our particular genres, he's trying to get into prog music. I'm trying to get into trip hop. Why don't you take a look at getting into trip hop and getting into prog? I
Like I
might
said,
also,
Camel video should be out Saturday.
yeah.
And my
I also
series.
have like a couple other video ideas planned, but I'm not going to. I am alluding to that, but nothing is really concrete, so I'd rather not get into details. But be on the lookout for maybe some more series as well.
Alrighty, well, it has been fun talking about Bob Dylan's Rough and Rowdy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very rough and rowdy album, actually.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it really wasn't. The end of it was.
Well, I mean, the vocals were pretty rough.
That's true. They were very rough.
But I mean, to its benefit. In fact.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sometimes sex is best when it's rough and rowdy.
Anyway, bye, y'all.
Bye-bye. Reese's Pieces are the best candy.
You suck.
You swallow.